round and probably caught the man on his bloody chops and so on, you know. He was that type of a lad.
He looked after little Henry Coburn. If anyone had touched Henry, he was in at him. And Jack, he could score with his left foot, right foot, 30-yarders, cross a ball. It was brilliant. He scored 8 goals for Wolverhampton Wanderers in one match and 7 for Tottenham, because in those days they guested during the war.
Stan Pearson was another one, a great gentleman but a great ball player and a great goal snatcher. Stan. It was amazing how he could pop up for goals.
Rowley scored a hat-trick in the 6-1 win over title rivals Arsenal, which clinched the championship. It was the last great hurrah for the team that Matt Busby had inherited and inspired. There were babes on the way. Whilst the lap of honour at Old Trafford had been for the Rowleys and Pearsons and Careys and Coburns, the new generation had been lapping United's training ground, just waiting for the call. It was graduation day for football's first school of excellence. Busby had already added Birmingham winger Johnny Berry to the equation. With Delaney and Mitten gone, the flank positions were the first to be overhauled. Over on the left, Roger Byrne had won the race to be the first of the homegrown crop to claim a regular place, operating rather reluctantly as a winger for much of the title campaign. United were about to harvest the labours of their scouts. The likes of Bob Bishop and Billy Behan were unearthing the talent out in the field. And at home, Jimmy Murphy was overseeing the fatherly work of Bert Whalley and Joe Armstrong.
When I come here, I laid tremendous emphasis on the fact that we're going to try and build our own players. And we went out into the highways and byways, if you like, trying to get young boys. They came, we nurtured them, we watched them, we looked after them, they were coached. We were sort of all together type of thing. You become a sort of family. It was a family.
We won the Youth Cup every year I played. The first 5 years of its existence was won by Manchester United. But the youth team, Jimmy Murphy always used to say, was the cream of Manchester United, you know. This was the most important thing. Forget about the first team in the FA Cups and all that. This is the most important thing. And I can remember I wouldn't go to bed the night before a youth match because I'd been brainwashed, indoctrinated into thinking that this was the most important match that you ever played in your whole life.
He was just so good, so reliable and so good at his job. He helped so many players to come through.
He was right-footed, Wilf, and my dad left him kicking the ball under the stand. Do this, Wilf, right foot, left foot, just kick it against the wall, right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot. And my dad forgot all about him. 2 or 3 hours he was there, and my dad heard him under the stand kicking the ball, and he went to him, dripping with sweat, and he ended up being a left-footer, Wilf. He used to call them his little apples, golden apples, and he used to say to Matt, he's ready now, he's ripe. Put him in the side, he'll be ready now. He'll do your job.
Sir Matt, when he sometimes had a couple of bad results, he didn't do things by halves, and sometimes, you know, he would completely decimate the team. He would say 4 or 5, and he'd say, you know, I'm changing it, and I'll bring in the kids, and that's how the Busby Babes probably got its reputation.
The Busby Babes. Roger Byrne the first to show, Duncan Edwards probably the greatest of all, an international at 17. David Pegg, an elegant outside left in the Tom Finney tradition from Doncaster. Another Yorkshireman, halfback Mark Jones. Manchester City fan Dennis Viollet, born to score goals. Inside forward Billy Whelan, a Dubliner. And from Northern Ireland, Jackie Blanchflower, Danny's younger brother. And the gifted Eddie Coleman from Salford.
Eddie Coleman was my idol. I went for the smaller fella, and Eddie was snake hips. I was nothing like him. I used to try and copy him, but I couldn't, obviously. I wasn't Eddie Coleman. But I used to clean his boots, extra special. Better than everybody else, including Duncan's, you know.
I think it was number 9 Archie Street he lived at. It was Archie Street anyway. And they had an off-licence on the corner, and we used to go for jugs of beer and lemonade and mix a shandy together. And we used to have Big Duncan over there, Davy Pegg, Tommy Ted. They'd all come into each other's houses. You know, we just palled out together. It was marvellous.
Duncan Edwards from Dudley in the Black Country was the head boy. From the very beginning, every team he played in revolved around him.
One day I was talking with Joe Mercer, and Joe had, at that time, he was captain of Arsenal, and at that time he had taken the English schoolboys on for a week, doing a bit of coaching with them round about Blackpool.
And the lad that stood out, head and shoulders above everybody else, is this Duncan Edwards from Riley Hill. And Matt came, and he's looking for Alec Farrell, a local lad who played for Everton, went to Everton. And I said, yeah, I can play. And we got talking. I said, well, the best player of that lot is Duncan Edwards.
And he says, what's more, he says, he's Manchester United mad. So that started us after Duncan Edwards, and eventually we signed him. Talking about Duncan, I always mind the things he used to do before a match. And you'd done your little last 30 minutes talking before they went out. And Big Duncan used to say, he meant, we haven't come here for nothing. He would say, come on, boys, we ain't come here for nothing, N-U-F-F-I-N. This was always his famous saying before going out.
Either foot, right foot, left foot. He could manipulate the ball any way that he wanted to. If you wanted him to smash a 70-yard crossfield pass, he would pinpoint a 70-yard crossfield pass. He used to run around like a gazelle. He loved scoring goals. He was just a complete player. He was a fantastic defender. He was brave, he was good in the air.
Edwards like a tank when England in trouble in defence.
Sort of a Brian Robson, only twice as powerful, you know. And I'll give you one story. We were playing Chelsea in the semi-final of a Youth Cup game. And before the game, Jimmy Murphy had said, look, you're great young players. You're playing for Manchester United. A lot of you are going to go on for England. And we've got a player, Duncan Edwards, who's in the team. Now, I don't want you to have an Edwards complex. He said before the game, whenever you get the ball, I don't want you to think, oh, we've got to give it to Duncan. Look for each other, you're quality players. Play it, everybody get a feel of the ball. And at half-time, it was 0-0. And things weren't going well, and he was giving us Gina's up Murphy, and just before he went out, he said, and by the way, whenever you get the ball this half, look for Duncan, he said. And we did, and we won, and it was Duncan that scored.
Still they came, future England internationals, Bill Fowkes, Ray Wood, the teenage goalkeeper from Darlington, and the goal poacher, signed for £30,000 from Barnsley, Tommy Taylor, christened the smiling executioner for that perpetual grin. Taylor had plenty to laugh about. He scored well over 100 goals for United at the rate of 2 every 3 games. A powder keg of a striker with unrivalled ability in the air and endless stamina.
Good run by Berry. Berry still with it. Matthews back there tackling him. And there it is! A magnificent goal by Taylor.
Oh, Whelan. Pegg. I mentioned that. Really keeping the ball on the floor. Now young McGuinness to Berry, cutting it very nicely. This could be the first goal. It's a goal, a lovely one. It's Manchester coming back on the attack. It's almost a relentless tide now. A battle between these Manchester forwards and wing-halves. And here's one of the wing-halves, Coleman, and this Spurs defence. It's Pegg out of number 10, Edwards. This equalising goal must come. And there it is! Yes, it's a great goal. It's scored by Coleman. Pegg with it out on the left wing. All the United forwards up. Violet. Cross to Berry. It comes on the right wing. Blackpool defence trying the offside game. Berry going through with it by himself. Cross it comes and Farms made it perfectly. It's a fake hit. It's a goal. It's a goal. This is the goal that should give them the championship.
The Babes' first championship was won by a margin of 11 points. From New Year's Day until the end of the season, they were beaten just once. They were unbeaten at Old Trafford. Success had arrived sooner than most had expected, but this was a team in a hurry. Today, England. Tomorrow, the world.
When we won the championship 56, I had said to my board at the time, I said, no, I'd like us to go into Europe. And of course, they were very happy about it. I said, well, what do you think? I said, well, the next thing is we apply. And of course, at that time, after the Chelsea, the year previous, The League Management Committee sent a letter to the club saying they didn't like the idea of us going in.